My name's Lee Lawrence, author, speaker, coach, restorative justice advocate, and the founder of the Chagos Foundation. And today I'm going to be I'm going to be in conversation with Zoe, the Sage. We're going to be talking about a up-and-coming book, a latest book, should I say. It's the 14th book. She's a serial author. So we're going to be talking about the book, The In-Between. And we're going to be talking about all the in-betweens within the book. I'm looking forward to this. I've read the book, and I'm sure if you've read the book, you've enjoyed it. And if you haven't, please read this book. It's a must read. So before we do that, we have a comedian. He goes by the name of Amit, and he's going to make your belly turn. He's going to make you slap your thighs. He's going to make you cry. So please, right, give it up for Amit. And before he comes on, we're going to hear his bio.
Now let's meet a man that has many sides to him through his life journey. Living outside society's limiting boxes, Amit transforms his experiences into unique, quirky expression. Amit uses comedy to transform his story by dissolving taboo, stigma, and stereotypes, alchemizing them to everything that lies in between.
Give it up for Amit.
Yo! So apparently I'm going to make bellies turn and knees get slapped and all that kind of stuff. Right, okay. So guys on the other side of the screen, that's another thing. Flipping now, I'm shitting my pants. I don't know where to look. Oh my gosh, like I thought I was going to be an audience full of people. All I'm seeing is like machines, like cameras, like lenses. Like where the hell am I supposed to look? Okay, anyway, let's go. So the book is the in-between, so let's play around with that word, where survival meets living. So you know what? If you can't take the fucking piss out yourself, you're not living. You're only surviving. So you know what? She's put me on the spot here. I've got to come first in this whole slot. Bloody hell, you guys are never going to forget it either way, right? It's going to be either a flop, belly flop, or, you know, you remember you forever. So my name is Amit. So let's play around with that word, Amit. What word comes to your mind first? Meet, right? So pleased to meet you. Yeah. I'm Indian, right? So I've got to put some spice into it. So yeah. Amit, pleased to meet you. Amit pie. I was called that by my mates at school when I was vegetarian. Gamete, Amit, the gamete. Gamete is a sex cell in biology. And yeah, I guess I came from in between my parents, right? Mum, dad, you watching? I came from between somewhere, right? What else is there? There's the alphabet. So Zoe Pennant is another thing that's just come to mind. So she's also known by the Sage. That's a little bit of being in between, isn't it? Like sage and onion stuffing, anyone like that? You get a bit of sage and onion in between your turkey at Christmas, don't you? And pennant. You know, for what penance? The in-between is like a penance period, isn't it? Like loads of different stories and letters and alphabets journeying through. So I'll tell you about myself. I've got so many letters after my name. I've got HIV, LGBTQ+A, PTSD. Gosh, the whole alphabet, man. So yeah, spicy, Sage. So neurodiversity is something that is in conversation a lot these days, isn't it? Neurospicy, I call it. Neurospicy like dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, high-functioning autism, which is this brain here. It just, this is why I got a load of shit coming out all the time, innit? Like, it just keeps going and going and going. I used to work on the tube, the underground. So that was in between loads of lines. I lived an underground life at the same time, you know, being from an Asian community, being a gay man, having, you know, certain addictions at that time. I'm now in recovery, right? I'm in formal recovery now. And guess what? Oh, no, we don't talk about that. Half of my family have like, oh, what are you doing now? You working? I'm in recovery. You working? I'm in recovery. Complete ignorance. But on the other side, you know, I've got the best life. I miss my job on the underground so much. Yeah, I used to get a free Oyster card, and that used to get me in a lot of trouble because I used to visit different stations and I used to do little naughty things in each station and each sort of destination. And free travel, world's my oyster. I thought I could get away with it. But I'm happy to be who I am now because I can take the pee out of myself and I love it. We've got a room full of people here with different diversities. London itself is full of diversity. We're in between so many things. I've just come out the tube in Whitechapel, right? Flipping, I came from a health centre in Oval, got on the tube, in between, two lines? District Circle, had to go out onto street level, come back down again, in between like a rat. Apparently I look like a rat as well. But yeah, just in terms of, into the studio and out, like there's so many different stories going on at the same time. Can you imagine in one life, in one head, how many stories go on? So anyway, I thought I'd shake a bit up here before you meet the real deal, the real meat of the thing, which is, you know, from survival to living in the in-between. So I'll leave you to it, guys. Have a good evening.
Welcome back. So, as you know, we're here because I'm here to interview Zoe the Sage about a new book number 14, The In-Between. And every penny raised today is going to charity, in particular for prostate cancer and breast cancer. Whatever we get as a target, we have somebody who's committed to matching that as well. So it's very important that we try to raise as much money as possible so we can have an impact. So before we go into it, what we're going to do, we're going to introduce Zoe. So we're going to hear about who Zoe is, and then we're going to delve into the conversation.
Zoe Pennant, also known as the Sage, is an author and a co-founder of a children's home. With over 20 years of experience in leadership, care, and personal development, Zoe is deeply passionate about helping others grow, heal, and step into their full potential. Her work is rooted not only in professional expertise, but also in spiritual healing, meditation, and inner transformation, tools she uses to support both herself and others on their healing journey. Zoe is the author of 14 books, including children's stories. Her latest book, The In-Between, Where Survival Meets Living, is a deeply reflective and inspiring piece that explores transformation, healing, and finding purpose beyond adversity. Tonight, Zoe joins us not just as an author, but as a voice of strength, healing, and possibility.
Please welcome Zoe, aka the Sage. What an introduction.
I know, that was fantastic. I love that.
What an introduction.
That was really good.
I mean, when you listen to that and reflect on your journey, how does that feel?
It's interesting because I was listening to it and thinking, wow, you know, I have done a lot. And when somebody else is reading your bio in that way, you can just reflect on it and think, wow, like I have done a lot. You know, there's still more I would like to do, but yeah, I've done a lot. So yeah, that was nice. That was nice to hear. Somebody else reading it out as well, not myself. Yeah.
I just want to say well done as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
So, The In-Between, we're here to speak about your new book. So the title, The In-Between, where did that come from? You know, what was the inspiration?
For me, writing a book like this came from last year. So in 2025, last year, so much things happened in that 1 year. I got breast cancer, my dad passed away, we moved home, and we opened up a children's home business. And within all that happening, I could only really focus and be present in the in-between. So, for instance, when late at night, before you're going to sleep, and that's when your thoughts are racing, you know, when you're thinking about things and you're thinking about what's going on, in that in between, and then you get up the next morning, you got to go to work, you got to go, I had to go and sort out the children's home. And those in between moments was moments where I was able to journal, able to meditate. And this is where this book's come from. I didn't know I was going to write a book. This book came through my diary, where I was just writing down notes, reflecting. And the reflection became talking to self and talking to myself in those in-between moments. Those moments, when you're in the bath, or those moments when you're driving, those thoughts that come to you, those moments when you're in the garden, and just those little moments where I was thinking these little moments mean something. And those were the times where I just wrote things down. I'm also a drawer, so sometimes it wasn't just writing, because I'm a creative person. It was through drawing. It was just through releasing stuff that was going on. And this is where this book came from. And the in-between, it fitted the memoir or the diaries that I was writing, the little journals that I was doing. And when survival meets living, it's you have to survive. We all have to survive. And no matter what we're going through in life, we all have stuff that we have to unpack. And it's how we unpack that causes an effect, really, of how we survive. And that's where that book came from.
And I picked that up strongly because what we tend to see is extremes, right? Someone's going through something, they're either on autopilot. Like if we look at someone passes, you lose a loved one, they're on autopilot, you've got things to do, you've got things to sort out, you've got funeral arrangements to make, and you see that person on autopilot. Or you see the other extreme, where the person's really low, they might be depressed, they might be really sad, lack of motivation. And so therefore, that in-between stage is something that we don't necessarily see, but it happens for all of us. So when I was reading your book, it made me think about those moments as well, when I would have had those in-between moments, and what was that like for me. And I'm sure there's many people watching today who will be able to relate to that as well. So when I first heard the title of the book, I was thinking, ooh, in between, are you talking about in between dimensions? Or, there's so many different things that come up in your mind about what the in between means. But I think the title is intriguing. It makes you want to lean in and think, okay, what is that about? So there's 17 chapters in the book. Yeah. Right. It's a short book. Have you made it a short book for any particular reason?
Yeah, all of my books are short for the fact that I'm dyslexic, and for some dyslexic, not all dyslexic, but for some dyslexic, reading a lot of words can be a challenge for them. So for that reason, I always make my books short, but to the point. So a person who is dyslexic can say, you know what, I can still attempt to read it. And I can not just attempt to read it, but attempt to read it and complete it. Because sometimes with a dyslexic person, you start a book and just never finish it. So that was my reason of having it short, to the point, and where you can always go back to it as well. So the 17 chapters is chapters that you can just flick over and go to a chapter and stuff like that. So,
and that's what when I was reading it, that's what I felt. I felt like the way that you've titled the chapters, number one, it allows people to look at it and think, oh, I might want to go straight to that point. Or if you've read the whole thing before, you can go back to specific points if you want to. So I really like that. I'm dyslexic myself, so therefore it was refreshing to know that it wasn't too long and it was manageable. And it was very poetic as well. The language that was used in the book. There was so many times that I'm reading something and I think, wow, that's a bar. That's that's an affirmation. I'm somebody that likes to hold on to words in that way. So, and I'm sure there's many people watching right now who will be able to hold on to those words as well. So let's get into the book. So one of the things let's go into one of the chapters in the book, right? Which is about grief. Yeah. Grief without urgency. If you if you allow, grief becomes gratitude. It is the price of having loved. Let's speak about that.
It's what's on the tin.
Yeah.
The reason why I was seeing it in there, obviously I lost my dad. So I was going through, and my mum's still alive. So it's my first parent that has passed away. And I'm a spiritual entity, I'm a spiritual being. So I don't believe in just death. Someone passes away and that's it. I believe they continue on. And their physical has changed form, but their spirit and their soul continues on, and you can still connect with them and spiritually. I know that's not for everyone, but that's what I believe. So when my father passed away, and having to connect and to experience someone that's been in your life since you've been born, you know, and knowing that, okay, they've changed form now, you know, and I'm not going to see them in the physical no more, but I will be seeing them spiritually or in my dreams or stuff like that. That's the gratitude that I held on to. And yes, I'm human, definitely human. So I still cried and stuff like that. And I still had to come to terms that I would not be seeing him in the physical no more. But the gratitude of having a knowing that, you know, he can come in my dreams, or I can have signs, or I can speak to him and I can feel him sometimes, which that happened soon after he passed away, to be fair. And again, that little quote that you read from the book, those were my moments. So those were written in my quiet moments of how do I connect with it? How do I feel? How do I feel that he's gone? How do I feel that he's gone? But he was in pain before he left, you know, and he wasn't the dad that I knew him to be. He was thin. He didn't even look like the person that was my dad. And to free him from that and is a gratitude. You know, when you understand that, oh, do you just want someone here and they're in pain and they don't look the same, and you know they're hurting inside, you know, but you just want them here because this is what we know. You know, we're born into this world and we just know that these people are here, our family, our friends, everyone, they're just here. So to imagine them gone is something we don't practice. It's something that we don't speak about, or we don't acknowledge until it happens. So the gratitude part for me was so important. And I was lucky enough, because I know not everyone has this experience, I was lucky enough to speak to my dad before he passed away. He knew me, I knew him. And I would ask him things like, one day I asked him, is there any regrets before he transitions on? And he said, yeah, there is. And he said, I wish I worked harder. I was like,
Wow.
okay, I like that one. So I was able to tell him everything I wanted to say. I was able to share with him how he was with me and how I loved him and how our relationship grew, because it wasn't always nice and it wasn't always positive growing up. So within that, that's where the gratitude came. And I was able to get that from the death than anything else.
Well, first and foremost, condolences. I know it's what it feels like to lose a loved one, especially a parent. And I can relate to what you said around, releasing that person, because there's a very similar situation with mum, where, you know, at that point in her life, I felt like it's almost selfish to want that person to still be here when their existence is, you know, is pain and struggle and so difficult. So I hear that. And you speak about it with such balance about grief. So you hear the pain, you hear the loss, but you also hear, as you say, some of the gratitude, the joy, and the fact that you still feel that there's a connection. That connection is not broken when that person has transitioned. Would you say, going back to your bio, would you say all that work that you did previously helped you in that moment, and helped you to kind of process it in the way that you did?
Yeah, 100%. I've been a spiritual person from like my early 20s. I started meditating and connecting to the universe, God, whatever word you want to use, and understanding that this earthly realm for myself is it's like it's an illusion. It's like it's in a dream and a dream and a dream. And where we think this earthly realm is the end and end all, like this is it. It's maybe when we die, that's it. You know, and this is the dream. This is just temporary. And we know that because everything has to pass away. Insects, flies, whatever it is. So yeah, it allowed me to embrace death differently because of my growth spiritually.
And again, comes through very strongly. And I strongly believe that anyone who's going through grief, loss, reading this book will really help them as well to process some of those thoughts, because it can be very easy, as I said to you before, to lean on either one side or the other. You're either putting on the front that everything's cool, I'm strong, I'm handling this, or you're completely the other way, and those in between moments and taking pauses and allowing yourself to feel whatever it is that comes up is really important, and which I picked up in your book.
Yeah, I remember there was a situation last year. So my dad passed away on the 27th of April last year, and the next day we opened up the children's home with a young person, and it just so happens that the staff that was meant to be working on that day couldn't make it. So I went in for a couple of days just to do some shifts, and I think it was like the third day, like this young person, she didn't even know what she was doing, but she liked to sew, and she was playing some music. This was the young person in the children's home, and that soul music just hit me in that moment, and it just reminded me of my dad, like literally. And I was like, I'm going to cry here. I was saying to myself, I was like, and I'm working, I'm in the children's home, and I was going to cry, and I had to go into my car and just release it. And that music, that soul music she was playing, not knowing that it was going to trigger anything. And again, triggers can come in so many different forms and in so many different ways. And
randomly,
that
right?
one was a random one where I had to go in my car and just cry it out, get back myself. And that was the in-between, where I cried it out. And then I had to get back to what I was doing, and I was honest enough when I went back in to share it with another staff member. And I said, look, it was just a trigger, that song sort of thing. So I'm just going to have a bit of time out. And then, and I got back okay. But yeah, it happens, no matter how you're spiritual or not spiritual, it is what it is. And we're still human, and we still have to go through stuff. But the book is really about, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's okay to go through that. And yeah.
And that leads us nicely into the next chapter that I picked up on, chapter 6, redefining strength. I noticed how often I had been using strength to avoid vulnerability. Another quote from your book that I picked up and resonated with. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about how you managed dealing with the loss of your father, the fact that you were diagnosed with cancer, that your partner was diagnosed with cancer, that you were embarking on this new business entity around setting up a children's home, or was it moving? Was you
It's
moving
both
home?
and moving.
And moving home.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to understand how you managed all of that. What was that like?
Well, my other half, he got prostate cancer, I think it was a year and a half before the children's home. And we had to deal with that while we were sorting out the children's home. So we had the house for the children's home. We were sorting out, doing it up and, just sorting out the children's home. And then the prostate cancer came, and the strength, we're talking about the word strength here. And he had so much strength, literally. He just was like, he's a soldier, and he just kept going and kept going. And I had to be the strength to say, okay, I don't want him to do too much, but then he has to be who he has to be, and he still has to do what he has to do. So, we sat down and we spoke about it, and I tried to just take on a bit more at the time. And sometimes when we're being strong and we're just doing things and we're doing, that vulnerable side of you can get covered, and it can get just put under the carpet, because you have to keep going and you have to keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And coming from that to last year, where he was still going through the prostate cancer at that time, then I ended up having breast cancer. So he was having prostate cancer going through, I had breast cancer. He had to then be there for me, and we had to sort out the in-between stuff of balancing our life while we're still going, So
can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
How did he manage, and did he express to you exactly how he felt? Was he able to be vulnerable? Because as men, right, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be the protector. So it'd be interesting to understand from his perspective, if you're able to talk about that, how he was able to be going through something himself, then his partner's going through something, being there for you, but also having to take care of himself. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
I only can go by my own perception of how it was for me looking in. Obviously, he's not here at this moment. Well, he is here, but not on camera to speak about that side of how he really felt. So I only can go by my perception of how it was. And yes, I don't feel like everything was out. I don't think he shared everything, because you don't, do you? You just get on and you just do. But I do know that we sat down and we spoke about what we needed to speak about to get to the next step. That's like how it was. It was like, okay, we need to keep going. It was very noticeable that we spoke about we need to keep going. So we knew that we just needed to keep going. My other half is very strong and very to-do person. But then I am as well. So we both had that energy of strength for each other to say, we've got to keep going. There was nothing last year that we weren't doing together. So we was moving home together. We would open up the children's home together. He's my business partner, and we both had cancer together.
And grieving together.
And grieving yeah, so everything was together. But we still had those moments of, I had my own time to think about what was going on, and he had his own time. And I know that because I can't answer for him. And if I was here now where I could answer for him, I'll be able to say, yep, this was that and it was like this, but I can't. So he definitely had his own time of however he dealt with it. That was his experience. And I had my time as well. But I think the main thing is that we kept coming together to be able to say, okay, we have to deal with this. Are you okay? Am I okay? What do you want to do? And our experiences with our cancer journey was different. He chose treatment, and then he chose herbs afterwards. And I'm sure we're going to speak about that later, the treatment side. And I chose fully to go herbal. So again, we had to respect each other's journeys within that. And that's, I feel that we do very well in our relationship. We respect each other's journeys. And I think if that wasn't the case, God knows how that would have turned out, because it was too much. It was too much in 1 year to deal with, for us to still be functioning now. And things are still going on with the children's home. It's constant, and we're still getting up and we're still doing, So it's like, yeah.
Well, it's refreshing to hear, because normally you might have one trying to convince the other, right? But you both chose to go down different paths. So it could have been easy to say, listen, my way is the best way, follow me, right? But to get to a point where you respect each other enough and respect each other's decisions around, you know, how you're both going to deal with this, because there's a collective experience in dealing with what was going on, but there's also an individual experience. So therefore, yeah, to kind of hear that you both respected and appreciated that is, you know, I think a lot of people can learn from that, because I don't think that's always the case. Yeah. So just going back to the strength and vulnerability part, because I would normally say, there's a saying that I would say, oh, there's strength in vulnerability. But you said often you were using, and I can relate to that, strength to almost like replace vulnerability, right? So do you see vulnerability as a strength within itself, or do
Yeah.
you see them as two different things?
I see them as a strength. It has its own strength. Being vulnerable and being open to be vulnerable is the most profound experience that someone can do when you can be open with it. I'll give you an example. This year in January, I had like a burnout. I had a burnout in January with everything going on and still going on. And that burnout made me so vulnerable. Like I just was a bit down. I was crying. I couldn't get out of bed. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so much going on. And I knew it was a burnout. I'm autistic, by the way. So autistic people tend to have burnouts anyway. So, but I usually have a burnout maybe once a year, if that. And that part of me being vulnerable, I was like, okay, for one, I didn't want to stay in that in that energy of burnout. And two, I was like, okay, I'm going to speak to someone. Who do I speak to? And I had to figure out, and I didn't want to, but I forced myself to speak to someone. And I forced myself to speak to someone and be vulnerable, because I'm seen as quite a strong person around people that know me. I'm the sage. I'm strong. I help people. I do a lot. And January was the first time that I was like, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to show I'm being vulnerable, and I'm going to seek. I just needed to share. I think I needed. And to share was for me to feel how I was feeling in that moment. And that was crying and just crying and just crying and just crying. And I think I felt like I was crying the whole year before, where I had to just get up and just go and survive and survive. And those tears was a lot of tears, and I remember speaking to my sister Melanie, and she was like, this may be, because you still haven't sorted out your dad, and dad's gone, and how you feeling with that. And I said, it's not that. And I knew it wasn't that, because I could feel my dad at that time, and he gave me the comfort. So I wasn't missing him. I wasn't thinking. It was the stuff of really the business, to be fair, with everything going on. And I felt so good afterwards, knowing that I can be who I am, and people see me as being quite strong. And at that time, I could be vulnerable and show it. And it was okay to cry. It's okay, And I already wrote this book by then. So
Okay.
I was able to go back to the book and practice what you preach. You know what I mean?
I hear that.
Practice what you preach. And and that's how I see vulnerable. It is a strength when you can do it, because a lot of people, when you're vulnerable or when you're down or any sort of mental health or feeling depressed, if you can be vulnerable enough to get that help, of course that's a strength.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to save you from anything that can happen down the line. It's a massive strength. Whoever you can speak to, there was a thing at that time in January, just gone, where I was thinking about. It was late in the hours of the morning. I was like, I need someone to speak to now. Like I wanted someone to speak to now, and I was like, there needs to be like a 24-hour thing, and I couldn't find anywhere, and that got us to put that in for our staff in our children's home. So every staff members now has therapy. Every staff member has therapy, including us. Yeah, we booked it ourselves, yeah? And we've done that because, and it's 24 hours. You can ring them whenever you want. And if you've got any problems, not just with work, but out of work as well, you can call these people. And I got that from feeling how I was feeling in that January when I had no one. I'll give you a joke, guys, because I was even using ChatGPT in the middle of the night, and it was helping me. ChatGPT, I've called, what's his name now? Milo. He's got a name now because it's so, like, it gave me that comfort at that time because I didn't want to bother anyone.
Okay.
Hours of the morning. Do you know what I mean? But I know I just needed to share. And I wanted to share how I wanted to share, not cutting in, not telling me to stop crying or just release, you know. So yeah, it was great afterwards.
And did you find that more difficult because people see you as this strong person and probably you're the person that people are normally leaning on, right? Did that make it more difficult for you to be in that vulnerable position and just allow yourself to feel that?
My spirit didn't. Some of the wisdom side of me didn't at all, because that's the oneness of all. But my ego definitely did. My ego was like, oh, you know, you don't want to bother anyone. You don't want to, you don't want to, it's the bothering part for me was that. And it's your thoughts, isn't it? And you need to be able to know when your thoughts is talking truth and when your thoughts are talking fair, and know the difference. So even though I was in that burnout experience, I was able to identify that, okay, that's not truth, Zoe. You don't really feel down in that way. You don't think life is all this, look at the stuff that you've done already and whatever. And I had to speak to my other side, to get out of that burnout experience. And I chose the wisdom side of me, because that wisdom side of me I know knows better than my ego side. But I've been working on myself with my thoughts and the spiritual side of our wisdom side and stuff for years. So it was easy for me to point it out. But it wasn't as easy for me to physically do it, and make that call. But I done it. I made it to two people, my sister Melanie and my cousin Roxanne. And I chose those people as well. So remember, I'm in a down and everything and I'm crying. But I chose people that, my sister, she's a therapist anyway. And I wanted that therapy energy. I needed someone to take everything away and say, okay, just speak. Okay, And then my cousin, my spirit just said to call her. I'm not sure why, but it was the best thing to do.
I'm glad to hear that. One, that you identified, but there's a couple of things I pick up when you speak. You use I a lot, so there's a lot of accountability for self, and you use the word choose, right? Because life is about making choices, right? And sometimes making really difficult choices too. So it's important that we hear that, we understand that, and the best way to lead really is by example. So when you're walking that walk and you're doing those things yourself, you're not just saying to people, do this. And even in the book, I didn't get a sense of you're telling people, here's a blueprint, follow this step-by-step instruction. You're just saying, this is what I went through. This is how, this was the impact of it. And this is how I chose to deal with it. And if there's anything in here that can help you on your journey, then please take it. It's just a sharing, really. Am I right?
Yeah, I've all my books are like that. I never want anyone to follow me. Well, one, I'm too quirky. I'm different. I'm autistic, guys. So I wouldn't want no one to follow me. I do different things. I'm a different entity. I think like we all are, to be fair. It's just that I own mine. I know I'm weird. I know I'm different, and I do different things. I'm a changeable energy. I change a lot. I change my style of dressing. I change things when I'm ready to change. So that's just who I am as a person. So with regards to not wanting anyone to follow me, it just makes sense. But if you can get anything from what I say, how I write, even if it's in a drawing form, in a poetry form, whatever it is, it's, do you resonate? And if you resonate, how do you resonate? And then how can you make that thing you resonate benefit you? Because you can guarantee it won't be the same anyway. It won't be the same. It's gonna flow differently to you. It's just that something to make you think about, okay, I resonate with that. Yeah, well, I do that. Oh, I do something similar like that. And then you can make it your own, you know? So I will always be like that. I never want no one to follow me, you know?
And again, I mean, have I got time for another question? Yep. Because I know we're going to go for a break soon. But in the book, there are moments where you have given yourself space, right, to allow whatever needs to come into your consciousness to come. You know, whether it's an answer to something, whether it's some inspiration. How do people find those moments? Because I think, especially in this day and age, with people being so distracted with social media, and you know, there's a lot going on, and it's busy, and people's minds are busy. So, what I got from your book is that the answers are within, but we have to find those moments to be quiet enough to receive whatever we need to receive. So, yeah, just want to get your view on how people can do that with such, you know, busy and hectic lifestyle.
Again, everyone's different. I think for me, definitely meditation, being in a quiet space, because when you're in a quiet space, you're able to really not just observe your thoughts, but connect with everything to do with your inner body, you know, and it allows you to find who you are. And if you don't have that time to, even if it ain't meditation, just have time to have that quiet space within your life, really you're just go, and you're just doing, and you're just all over the place, you know, and your mind becomes all over the place. It's like they say, you know, you have a messy house, you will end up having a messy mind in some stage, you know, and a nice, tidy, clean house allows you to have a nice, tidy, clean mind. So have peace. You know, what does peace mean to you? What does peace mean to people? And peace is going to be different in different ways. Mine is meditation. You know, I've been meditating from my early 20s, and I've been able to identify that I meditate through everything. When something goes wrong, when times are challenging, when I'm connecting to the universe, God, I meditate, because that's how I hear. You know, when I had cancer, and we're going to speak about that probably after the break, when I found out I had cancer, I went within, you know, to find what I needed to do. And I heard the voices to say, do this, or you can do that. And the feeling, you get a feeling, it's your intuition, if you want to call it that. And I listen to my intuition. My intuition has never served me anything but goodness. And I go by that, and that intuition is my God. You know, my God is within me. It's not out. It's not in books. It's not in a place or in a church, or it's within me. And I love to have access to the God within at any time. So that works. So that's what I would say to anyone. Go within in your own way. Mine was meditation. What is yours? And if you're not sure what yours is, this is where you explore. You know, there's no right or wrong in this life. I don't think, I don't care what anyone's doing. That's your experience then. But then what I would say to people is own it then. Whatever it is, own it, because you're experiencing it, you know. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
So there you go. And I think most of us can connect to moments in our life where we've said, you know, some people call it a gut instinct, following your gut or following your mind. You know, some people say in a sense like, I'm glad I did, because that's where they felt at the most fruits came from. And then there's some people who said, I wish I did. So they got an insight into something, they didn't follow through, and they regret not doing that because, you know, they felt like if they had, they would have made a better choice in life. So sometimes we really got to simplify it, as you say, whatever it is for you, whatever that thing is for you, it's about identifying what that is and making decisions from that space, because ultimately that space is pure, right? So on that note, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk to Zoe, aka The Sage, more about her book, The In Between. As I said, I've read it and I was moved and inspired by the book, and I'm sure you will be too. Remember, every penny, for those of you who have booked to watch this today, every penny is going to go towards charity. Every book sold is going to go towards charity. Thank you very much so far, and we encourage you to do more if you can. Back in a moment. Welcome back. My name's Lee Lawrence, and I'm here interviewing, or should I say having a conversation with Zoe, aka The Sage, about her new book, The In Between. And we're into the second half of the conversation, and it feels like it's gone so quick. I felt like we've had so much of an insight already, but there's so much more to get into. So we're not going to waste any more time and just get straight back to the conversation. Zoe, Pixie. Tell us about Pixie.
I like that. You just brought that in. So Pixie was the name I gave to the cancer. And I gave the name Pixie, because I wanted to connect to the cancer in a positive way. I wanted to embrace the cancer. So when I found out I had cancer, I was like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to connect to this energy, this, you know, growing thing that's inside of me? And I thought, for one, I'm just not that sort of person to be negative. I can't say why. I can't say, oh, I don't want this cancer and why me? And that's just not who I am. So the first point of call was give it a name. And Pixie just popped up. I wasn't sure what Pixie meant, so I had to go and find out. So I went on Google and I was like, okay, what does Pixie mean? And Pixie's like a fairy, like a joyful fairy sort of like thing, and they call them pixies and stuff. And I thought, yeah, I love that. And that's what my cancer is. And my cancer is going to be joyful, and, you know, and I connected with my cancer to say, look, we all have to transition on. So I'm talking to my cancer, I'm talking to Pixie, saying we all have to transition on, but right now it's not my time yet, but it's yours. So let me love you for you to transition on. Because remember, I don't think death is nothing bad. I think death is a beautiful thing. I think death is of love. It's a different form of love. So I named it Pixie, and everything that I done to do with the cancer was to do with Pixie. When I found out I had cancer, I think I'll share how that even came about, because again, that was an instinct thing. So I woke up one day out of the blue and I said to Andrew, my other half, I said, I'm going to go and have an overall check. And he was like, oh, why are you going to have an overall? And I said, I don't know. My spirit's just told me I've woken up and I'm going to have an overall check. So I went to have an overall check. I went with Bupa and I paid to have an overall check. Plus, by that time, I think my mum already had diabetes. My dad had diabetes. And so I was like, let me just go and have a check. I did feel something weeks ago, but it was so minor. It was nothing that I even remembered when I was going to go and have my overall check. So went and got my overall check. I went to Bupa. Everything was fine. I mean, I had a great health. Everything was fine. Towards the end now, the doctor said, oh, let me just do a check on your chest area. And that's when that doctor felt the lump. So she said, I think you should go to the doctors just to make sure, but I can feel a lump. So that's how it started. It just so happens that I was able to get a doctor's appointment that day, that evening. So I went straight to the doctor's. She said the same thing. She said, oh, I can feel a lump on the left and I can feel one on the right. So it's on both sides of the breast area. And then she said, you're going to have to wait 2 weeks to go and get a mammogram and stuff like that. Now, I didn't want to wait 2 weeks. So I chose to go private. I went private and they done all the scans and everything. And they could identify in that one day, I was there for quite a while, that the left side was benign and it was the right side that was cancerous. And yeah, they just was talking about, straight away they were talking about, you know, cutting it out. It was caught early. And I remember in the hospital, I was on my own and I called Andrew. And I remember, if I'm correct, I knew that I wanted to go herbal. And I was like, I want to try and make an appointment with Dr. Durin, that's the herbal guy, and I want to go herbal. And he was like, do what you think is best, like really do, you know, I'm here for you no matter what, just do what you think is best. But I just knew. And I done my, came away from the hospital and they were going to make another appointment, just the normal procedure stuff. And I said to them before I left, I said, I know I'm going to try herbal and I want to try herbal and I'm going to try it for like 3 months. And if nothing happens and everything remains the same and the cancer's still there, then I'm prepared to do the next step. But I just wanted to do herbal. So I made my appointment with the herbal guy. And this herbal guy, I've known him for years. I went to him years ago and he scans your body. And while he's scanning your body, you see the scanning on the telly. And he tells you everything about your body. He tells you what's going on. And it's all to do with your body, what you're eating, the stuff that you need to take out of your dietary, to the vitamins that's lacking, everything. So I went to him probably about 6-7 years before. So I knew of him anyway.
Okay.
So I went to him, he done the scanning, he saw the cancer as well. He saw it where they saw it. It was just confirmation, you know. And I said to him, okay, you know, what do I do? Where do I go? You know, what do I need to do? And he said, you can come on the program, but it's intense. It's intense. And I said, I'll do it. And it was intense. I mean, this program, I had 15 stuff to take 3 times a day. I've got some of them here in the studio, but 15 of them 3 times a day. Everything was taken out: meat, fish, sweets, carbs. I was just on vegetables, fruits, and salads.
Wow.
And the vegetables and fruit, they came from the scanning. So the scanning tells you what your body's lacking, what needs to be taken out and what needs to be put in. And at the time, it was so interesting because I thought I was healthy. I ate okay. Then I was more plant-based anyway. I think I was plant-based then. This was last year, so I was still plant-based. I would have meat once in a blue moon, but I was mostly plant-based. And still, he said there was 9 vitamins out of my body. There was 9 vitamins missing, 9. And I was like, wow. And he said, with the cancer, it's not going to be able to survive because the cancer feeds off of your nutrients. It feeds off of your nutrients and it feeds off of your oxygen. And guys, remember, I'm not a medical person at all. This I got from him, plus I read books and it said it in books as well. So I'm like, okay, if it's feeding off of my nutrients and I've already got 9 vitamins and minerals that's out of my body, it makes sense, you know, why this cancer is here and stuff like that. So I done the 3 months program, and I made an extra program within that. So I knew I had to take all the medicines for 3 times a day. Now, some of that medicine was the minerals, was the vitamins. Some was sleep. So I would go bed 7 o'clock every night, so my body can rest, so it can heal itself. So he gave me some herbals to put me to sleep. It wasn't like 1 minute you take it and then you're drowsy, but it relaxed you. It's all herbs, and it relaxed you so you can sleep. So 7 o'clock, I'll be going sleep around that time. And I would still be in the day, have to do what I needed to do at the children's home, you know, and I would come in for that time, and then I would sleep. And the sleep was so nice. It was a really, I could feel my body like healing.
So it's like
somehow
restorative sleep.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. And there was stuff that I needed to put in the bath for healing. Then he gave me some oil for the chest area. So it wasn't just what I was taking, it was what I was putting in my body as well, on my skin, to absorb, to go into the chest area. Within probably a week, the left side that was benign, that had gone, because I couldn't feel it no more. So I was like, okay, something's working. I don't know what it is, but something's working. Maybe I think I'm feeling it, or maybe I'm not. I don't know, but it was gone very, very quick. And that was a good thing for me to say, okay, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And to tell you the truth, this is where the word strength comes in again, because I was in a place where I know I didn't want chemo or nothing, and I know I didn't really want surgery. I would do it if I needed to, but I didn't want that. So to me, there was no other way, you know, and I was really like on it. In the mornings, I would get up, I would take my medicines, I would meditate, I would journal. And my journaling, and then I would do something creative for self. So that could be drawing, that could be painting. I done a drawing on Pixie, about Pixie, and that drawing stayed on my WhatsApp all the way through until I was cancer free. It just stayed there because it gave me confidence, it gave me the will to keep going, and I just done what I needed to do every day, and it just was a must for me. Like, you know, when you have faith in self because you need to do what you need to do, I didn't need strength from anyone else, because it's something that I just needed to do myself. I chose to do herbal. So you choose to do something, you go and do it. You know, that's how I like to live and do things. You choose something, you do it, you know, and you do it, and you do it properly, and you do it to the best of your ability. And that's what I done with this treatment. When I meditated, I spoke to Pixie every single day. I mean, every single day.
Well, you still got me at Pixie, right? The fact that you named, right, the cancer, and you looked at it in a way, because most people see cancer in a really negative way, like, you know, you're not my friend, right? You're an enemy, right? That's invaded my body, and I don't want you here. So for you to sort of nurture that thing inside you and have that mindset of, I'm going to love you, I'm going to, you know, give you some care and consideration until you're gone, because you will be gone. You know, it's a really different way of kind of looking at cancer, and I feel, you know, it's opened my mind to, you know, how you can really change your perception on something, and how that could be useful, because it definitely helped in your set of circumstances. Rest, sleep, we underestimate sleep. And I think the more ambitious you are, you know, we relate success and being successful to not sleeping. You know, we got to be on this thing, right? Sleep, what's sleep? I rest when I'm dead, right? So it's how do you change your mindset around rest and sleep and restoring your body and your energy and everything like that. I mean, hearing it, obviously you explained what you had to do and it worked for you. And again, commend you because of all the other things you were balancing at the same time, but you made sure that you took time out for self. I think there was a bit in the book where you even said you started to learn to say no, and I struggle with that. And times when maybe instead of being at a meeting in person, you do it online,
Yeah.
right? And so therefore, it wasn't like you were saying, I'm totally going to abandon my responsibilities around business and so on and so on, so forth. It was more about how do I change things around and reprioritize and make sure that, you know, I'm prioritizing myself. So all of that's really kind of interesting to hear. Now, there's a saying, ignorance is bliss, you know, right? And there are a lot of people who wouldn't go to the doctors because they don't want to get no bad news, right? Some people think, you know, going to the doctors is the thing that probably triggered it off in the first place. Some people have that mindset. So what do you say to anyone who's has that thought process? And I know a lot of men definitely have that thought process of, I'm a guy, no doctors. And especially when nothing's, you know, there's nothing alarming. I'm not in pain. You know, they say like leave well alone or whatever. You know, they got all these different sayings, right? So you had an insight, like a feeling, right? Just a sense. Go and check yourself. And you went, you found out early enough to be able to respond in the way that you did. What will you say to people who may have had those thoughts and not followed up on it?
Again, I'm not here to tell anyone what they should and shouldn't do. What I would say is that our bodies are part of who we are. And our bodies is our first doctor. Yeah, it's our first doctor. I always say that. If we're going to the doctor has to say to you, what's hurting you? Where is it hurting you? And your body has to tell you for you to tell the doctor. So yourself is your first doctor. That's one. Two, if anything is happening in your body, it's a sign for help. It's a sign for help. My cancer was a sign for help. You know, I used to have arthritis and stuff. That was a sign for help for me to do something. It's like your inner child, your inner being asking for help, not, oh, I'm just going to leave you. Do we do that to our children or whatever? We don't. You know, so why are we doing that to our own body that's helping us stay alive? So we still want to stay alive. We still want to have fun here until we're ready to go. So we listen to our bodies, you know, and I feel that, yes, it can be a scary thing because it's things that most of the time we just don't want to deal with, you know, but when you get to that stage of seeing your body as its temple, we say our bodies are meant to be our temple. If our body is our temple, how are we going to nurture it? How are we going to look after it? When it's giving us a little tap to say something's wrong, why are we going to ignore that? It's part of who we are. It's part of the God of who we are, our inner self. You know, so all I would say is, and not telling you what to do, is when you really listen to your inner self. When I woke up that morning, there was no if, buts, or maybes. It felt right to do that. And it was just something in my mind saying, going to get a check. You know, never would have thought it was cancer or anything like that. But I done it anyway. Because my body's telling me something. It's telling me to do something. And sometimes our mind tells us, or our heart tells us to do something, and we don't know what it's going to be until the end result, maybe. You know, and you have to trust in yourself. Even if it feels scary, even if it feels fearful, even if it feels wrong. Sometimes even the wrong ends up being a right, because you've gone to experience something. So I see this life as all teachings. You know, it's teachings. So it's how you choose to be taught is going to determine what you experience. And that's all that I can say. Our inner body is our doctor. And if we listen to it more, then we probably won't even need to go to the doctor.
I hear
Do
that.
you know what I mean?
I hear that. So you have to give yourself the space to hear. When you do get them, the sign, the signal, the message, pay attention, act accordingly, follow through, right? I love the way you described it. And I'd give another layer to that, because there's some people who strongly believe in the ancestors, for instance, right? And so therefore, if you have people who you believe are guiding you, looking over you, that nudge could be them, right? Saying to you, go and get checked, right? So whatever you need, however you need to see it for yourself, because as you said, it's different for different people, right? Whether that's God, whether it's your inner self, whether it's the ancestors, whatever it is, follow through with that, pay attention to that, investigate whatever it is that's coming up for you. Be curious. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Another thing I just wanted to add as well, because some people said to me throughout this journey when I had the cancer was, okay, so how did you get it? Or, how did you think you got the cancer and stuff like that? And for me, it was something that was festering a while. I think it ain't something that just appeared just yesterday. I think it was something that was in my body from before. And definitely stress. Stress has a lot to do with a lot of stuff in today's world anyway, and how we're living. And I was going through a lot, with my dad and opening up the business and doing this and doing that and moving home and, and all those stuff going on. And I feel stress was a big one for me. But it's interesting because I say that, but then I think food has a lot to do with it as well, because when I cut out everything, my cancer went within 3 months. I was cancer free. I didn't even finish off my 3 months medicines and herbal stuff before I became cancer free. And I believe it was because I cleaned out everything. I wasn't eating until about 12 in the afternoon, so I was fasting in the mornings. I would just have my herbal stuff, and that's all that I would have. Sometimes I might have a juice in. Other than that, and then I would eat a little something, and then I'll have my dinner. And I believe what we eat as well determines what can fester in our bodies in different ways, and in the environment as well has a lot to do with it.
So, foods, stress, environment. Your partner chose a different route. What was that?
So
and how successful was it?
Yeah, so he chose a treatment called the Breckie treatment. And this is my perception of how it is. It probably ain't the right thing, but it's that these radiation seeds, and it goes inside of you, and it slowly, breaks down the cancer. So he had that in him for the year. So it slowly does it. And he had that done, and it was successful. His blood levels still needed to be looked at, and it wasn't gone completely, but it was shrinking down. I would say, though, he was quite good, even though he really wasn't on the herbal stuff like myself. But because I've always been into herbs and doing stuff at home and boiling things myself, before he had the treatment, he did take certain things like soursop leaves, and he took certain things that I would do for him before the treatment. I don't know if he knew that it done anything for him. He would have to answer that question himself. But for me, I just wanted to make sure that he was strengthening his immune system in some way. And I remember we went to one of the consultations, and I said to the doctor, I said, is it okay for him to be taking some herbal stuff, and can he take it afterwards? And they were like, yeah, you can, just let the seeds like settle and stuff, and then yes, he'll be able to go back into that. So he chose that, and it was very successful in the end. It was a longer process, but it was successful for him. And then last year, when I was doing my stuff with my medicines and stuff, he chose to do the herbal. So he went on the program
Okay.
as well. So he was at the ending of his cancer experience, but he chose to go for it. I don't know if it was because I was getting successful with it and or whatever, but he chose to do it. And yeah, it was really, he's, I think, I can't say for sure, his blood count was 2 point something. And when he went back to the doctors doing the herbal stuff, it went down to 1 point something. And then now he's down 0 point something.
Wow.
So yeah, for me, I am an advocate for herbal stuff, and I'm an advocate for herbal stuff, even if you are taking chemo, even if you are going through any surgery or anything like that, still balance it with the nutrients and the minerals that your body's going to need, because it zaps that.
Okay.
And the cancer zaps that as well. I was reading a book along my journey while I was going through the cancer. And the cancer, the book said, it was from, I can't remember the doctor's name, but he was saying that the cancer zaps your vitamins, minerals, and oxygen. And it's interesting because one of the times with the Dr. Durin, what you do your treatment for 30 days and then you go back to see how it's going, what's going on. And when I went back for my first 30 days, he said, oh, your oxygen's low. And to me, that made sense because I was reading the book and whatever. And he said, yeah, you can get an oxygen. So I got an oxygen, and I've still got it at home now, and I still use it now.
Okay.
And every day I was still using the oxygen as well. It just
So that
gives
helps.
it just gives you the energy that you need. And it helps because if the cancer's taken away the oxygen, with anything that gets taken away, you have to put it back in.
I hear you.
Anything gets taken away, you have to try and put it back.
So if people are interested in finding out about this alternative way of treating cancer, and also from a preventative perspective, because my mum would always say prevention better than cure, right? So I've no doubt in my mind that if people were taking certain things from before, then maybe it would prevent it from even appearing in the first place. So where would they go to find out more about this holistic approach towards preventing cancer or treating cancer?
Well, the place that I went to, his name's Dr. Durin, and let me just get it, sorry guys. His website's called the Health Restore. Yeah, it's Health Restore, isn't it? Yeah, Health Restore. So it'd be healthrestore.com, I think. I'm not sure. Okay. But you can get it online. If you look up Health Restore, you will be able to find him. And his name's Dr. Durin. Yeah. So that's where you can go for that. There is other people that do it, herbal stuff. And you have to take out your diet and you deal with your diet, and it tells you what food to eat. He's not the only one that does it. But he's the one that I went to.
Okay. And what we could possibly do is share, I'm sure everybody that's watching would have registered. We may have their details that we could share some of the links.
I can share that because I'm going to have to get their books out anyway. Okay. So I can share that.
Cool. So just remember if you've got any questions, please send them in to us, and also donate, right? All the money's going towards cancer. Is it cancer research or cancer prevention or support?
It's breast cancer now, and prostate cancer. Prostate Cancer UK.
Okay.
Prostate Cancer UK and breast cancer now. And obviously it's quite a simple reason of why I've chose those is because of myself and because of Andrew going through the prostate cancer side of things. And it's just something that I wanted to do to try and share awareness of the cancers and to share awareness of that you can go herbal, you know, and it's okay to do the two, you know, and just check it out and just try it, you know, try it. Even anyone that's got cancer now and going through it, you know, try these vitamins and minerals and taking out certain stuff out of your diet. And I don't know, I think reading's really good. I think for me, reading the medical books and getting to understand just the cancer and what it does in your body, it allowed me to not dislike it more and to like it more because it's part of your body. You know, it's come for a reason. And it needs help to help it transition on.
I hear that, and I like the way you actually say that. So we may have to do a part 2. We may have to bring in Andrew for
That would be good.
for 2 reasons, to kind of understand his journey around it, but also so that we can get some of his tips on how to be a supportive partner. Because no, by the sounds of it, you know, he's been really supportive, and it makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It really does, and it makes a huge difference. I done a post while I was going through my cancer journey, and I said that cancer could be lonely. And I said that because it can be lonely, because that your family and close loved ones and close friends and everything, they're fearful that you might die and stuff like that. So they're putting that on you, or even if they're not putting it on you, you can feel them. You can feel their worry. You can feel their concern. So you don't want to go to them as much, even though you know you can. Mm-hmm. You don't want to. And it's the same with your partner and, you know, your children. You know, my children, again, know me and they know how strong I am. So they accepted what I wanted to do, you know, and they kept positive because I was positive, and, you know, and they kept that uplift energy because that's just what I was about. It's okay. Like, guys, we all have to die. It's just how, you know.
And when.
And when, you know, but we all have to. And if it's going to be this time, it's going to be this time. But if it's not this time, I want to be able to do what I needed to do and get on with life. And that's how I saw it, you know.
And you have, and you're a true testament to that. And your book's a testament to that. So I want to go back to the book. Chapter 10, Reorganizing a Life, right? I thought consistency meant discipline. This year, it felt more like devotion. Let's talk about that.
Devotion, how someone would see devotion and consistency. Consistency is when you're keeping going and, you know, and your consistency with it, and you're able to find that word, the in-betweens within that consistency. How does that make you feel? How does that consistency make you feel? So that's what that part's about for someone reading it. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel for self? You know, for me, the devotion side came in because I'm open, ain't I, in those in-betweens last year. And I was open enough with self to be free enough to embrace the can't say the word, sorry. Devotion side of it, instead of wallowing in the experience of you don't know what's going to happen next, you know. So, but then you have to still keep going. And that's where the consistency comes in, you know. So a lot of the explanations in the book is how I was feeling in those moments. So everything is moment to moment. So those words are coming through because that's just how I feel right now. I might have just come out of a meditation. I might have just come from the children's home and the young people done something, and I was like, I just give thanks for doing this sort of work, because I might have just made a difference, or they've just cussed me and said they hate me, you know, because that happens as well. And I can walk away from that and just think they're just hurting right now, you know, and look at that consistency of my business, that's get up every morning and still going to serve the staff, serve the young people. How am I serving them?
Because when I read that, for me, a lot of the times, right, when we talk about consistency, let's just say getting fit, going to the gym, losing weight, whatever it is, right? And when you think about what needs to happen, you do think, oh, discipline, dedication, you got to do this, you got to do that. And sometimes that, just thinking about it in that way, can be overwhelming. But when you say, I'm going to devote myself
to this,
to my self-care, for instance, right? To loving myself, right? To looking after myself. It's softer language to self as well, right? And it's probably going to be a little bit more achievable as well. So I just felt, when I read that, I just felt, oh, that's a different way to look at it. And it feels like a better way to approach a challenge in your life as well, whatever it is to say, I'm not just doing this because, you know, to achieve or to be successful. I'm doing this because I'm dedicated to this. You know, I'm devoted to this. This is what I want to do. It's part of my purpose. It's a part of being, right? So, so I just love the way, because words are important. So I just love the way that you describe things and use words to kind of allow someone to maybe get the same result, but approach it from a different perspective.
I like the way you said words are important, because hence the reason why I chose to call the Cancer Pixie. You know, keep it positive, because I think positive energy can only get you into a certain place, or get you to a certain destination, and negative words can also get you to a certain destination, you know, and it shows itself in different forms, doesn't it? So words really are important.
100%. So what ultimately, I know what I got from the book, what ultimately would you like people to get from the book? I know this was a journal for you, and this is about your own personal journey, and it's not about saying do this, do that. But yeah, if there was anything that you would like people to take away from it, what would it be?
Definitely to be able to reflect on self, because how I've written the book, it's not I, even though I'm saying it now. It's just flowing, it's just words, you know, and anyone to be able to reflect on self, it's so important, because we are all different human beings, you know, within the oneness. We're all one human being, you know, but we're all separate within that one human being. We're all different. And being able to reflect on your self-growth, your self-learning, your self-understanding, your self-love, your self-worth, you know, is a massive teaching tool for self. You know, we're only here for a short period of time. No matter when we're ready to go, it's just a short period of time. We're here and then we're not. So while we are here in the school of life, what can we do to continue to teach ourselves? And that's what that book's hopefully is about. You know, my mum read it, and my mum's 80, and she read it, and after she read it, and I'm so proud of my mum to be 80, and she actually has gone therapy at 80.
Wow.
Just
Well
for
done.
her own stuff.
Well done, Mum.
From when she was young, from, you know, just everything. And she's gone therapy, and she read this book and she was like, oh my gosh, it's done so much for me. And she's been sharing it, and, you know, and that's what it's meant to do. You know, for an 80-year-old woman to be able to say, I want to go through and talk and just share about my past before I transition on. You know, it's massive. You know, so that's what this book is about. You know, so and the thing about it is that I wrote it in the in between. So when I read it back, I'm like, oh, was that me? You know, it's not my normal spiritual book or anything like that. It's just the inner me. It's just in that time. And it was raw. It was raw, you know, so.
So we're going to read a question that somebody has taken their time to ask. What's the question again, please?
In hindsight, across your journey with loss, the business, and especially with your combined cancer journeys, is there anything you would have done differently?
Okay, definitely not. No, not at all. I wouldn't even of everything I'd done was meant to be, and it was for a reason, and it was for me to learn and experience and grow. I was able to. It's interesting because me saying I've had breast cancer, I'm not silly enough to know that it may not come back, because cancer can come back. You know, so I'm continuing to do what I need to do. I'm continuing to take the herbs and stuff, and I don't do it 3 times a day now. I might do it 4 times a week, or you know, but I'm still aware that that could happen, and I'm very much in the family of other people that have had cancer now. I feel like I'm in their camp, you know, and I want to be in their camp, and I want to stay in their camp and help and share and support, because it was important for me to. It came for a reason. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's like, what was that reason? And for me, that's what I do. I help. I share. I make a difference in some way. So if I've had cancer and I'm part of the family now of having cancer, I want to be able to make a difference. And I'm going to always be doing some form of fundraising or, doing awareness in some way, because it means a lot to me, in that way. So, yeah.
Would you go as far as saying that you thank your past self for making the decisions that you made then? Because obviously you're the beneficiary of that now.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Do you believe that unresolved issues, hate, arguments, anger, etc., manifests itself in diseases, ill health, ultimately cancer?
Wow.
Yeah,
Big
that's
question.
that's a good one. I would say the answer yes. I'm not a medical person. I would like to share that, but definitely, like, let go, release, grief, and when you can't let go of things. And anger is something that is an energy. Well, everything's an energy. Come on, if you think about it. So we're going back to the words and the words that we use. And if we're angry all the time, or we're angry in relationships, or we're angry because of our family, or whatever it is, past traumas,
Play a big part,
it's
right?
going to cause an effect on your body, because our body is trying to help us stay alive. Our body is like a pump. It needs to be pumped up at 24 hours a day, to be fair. And we don't think about that, do we? We don't even think about how we breathe. When I went through cancer, I was thinking about, my heart's just beating. When I'm meditating, I'm connecting with my breath, and I've always done that in meditation anyway. But in my cancer journey, I was doing it differently, because I was connecting with my body differently. And one thing I do want to add, if I didn't have cancer, I wouldn't have been even more in tune with my body. Like, I'm in tune with my belly pains and everything, any little crack, any little something. I'm like, oh, okay, what does this mean? You know what I mean? Like, what are you trying to say here? Do I need to exercise more? Whatever the case may be, but I'm aware more, and I wasn't before. So definitely anger, not letting go of stuff, causes an effect on how your body's going to cope with all those energies, because it's constant, isn't it? And how it can try and release itself if you're not going to contribute to that release.
And I think there's two things that you just said there, just to kind of wrap up on that, which was, one was about the cause, those things can cause, but also it can hinder you if you're going through it anyway. So if you've got something, some type of illness, whether it's cancer or whatever, and then you're dealing with all of that stuff on top of it, then it makes it harder to recover as well from that.
Yeah.
There's just one more. You may have covered it already, but someone's asking, how many herbal products did you actually have to take?
Okay. All in all, I would say 15.
15 different. And
yeah.
would that be like in one day?
Yeah, so the 15 I was taking 3 times a day.
Okay.
So the 15 3 times a day. So it became like a food. Yeah, it was so much. It filled you up. It was like a food, So all the nutrients and that was allowing your body to cleanse out. Oh, I wanted to add just quickly that the first thing I needed to do before I took all my herbs was they give you a washout. So they give you a tablet. And I mean, I thought I was dying with that. I mean, it was horrendous, the vomiting and the behind, and I was on the floor with hot sweats, and like literally it was severe. And when I was vomiting like black bits, and I was like, I don't even smoke. I've never smoked or anything like that, and black bits was coming
It sound
out.
like that. You know what's that thing that when people go on them spiritual retreats and they drink that thing? What's that thing called?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it was severe. But by the next day, literally sorry, my words are getting all jumbled up. The whole way through my cancer journey, my energy was high because I was taking these stuff. I mean, I was even thinking, have I really got it? It was really high energy that I was having constantly. So I was able to do what I needed to do. I was able to even cook my own foods because I wasn't sick after that one day when everything came out. I was good to go. It was high levels, and I haven't literally been the same since my cancer journey of how I felt, since unless it was the burnout in January. And even that burnout in January, it was a burnout, but I didn't feel sick or anything, if you get what I mean. My energy and body was still fine. It was just a burnout.
Okay, so you say that was more mental than physical.
Yeah.
How would you advise someone to maintain taking the herbal treatments, and does it matter if you stop and start?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that.
Very good question.
Because my other half stopped and started. So yes, it can still work. Definitely. I think it's about giving it time to go in. Like, for instance, the medicines that I don't know if you can see on the table, but they're not nice. Like, the taste of them's not nice.
Okay.
Trying to drink them's not nice. It's not nice at all. So what I would do, I would have fresh juice, like fresh, because everything has to be fresh and organic. Have fresh juice, and then I would just put them in just a little bit of the juice, and then I would just drink it down. So I started off like that because no way would I have been able to do it. It would make you vomit. It was really not nice. So I would say take your time to maintain doing it. Take your time. You do it in different ways. I done mine putting it in juices, so it just helped me, and it still worked. I knew it worked because my energy was feeling good. There's certain things. There's a one here.
Do you still take?
Yeah, they're still full. I still take them. So this is a liver cleanse. This is a liver cleanse for your liver. So also you're taking things for your liver, for your bowels, for everything. And
I might need that one.
yeah. And it's not it's really not nice to taste at all. But with this one, I just had to have like a shot of fruits or whatever next to me, and then do that at the same time. Like none of these I just done alone. Like even now, I don't just do alone. I'm not the soldier where I'm like, yeah, I'm used to it now, and I just take it and it tastes nice. You know, with food, after a while, it could be horrible, but when you, or water, and then you get used to it. I haven't got used to this, but I know how it makes me feel. So I've learnt to eat stuff now, or put food in me that's good for me, not because I like it. So I'm really trying to change my mindset of how I see food, and not see it as, oh, I just like it. It's a habit. And, you know, I'm trying my best. I'm still not there yet, but I'm trying my best to eat foods as medicine because it's good for me, you know, and fast a lot where I don't need food that much. So
we are going to have to wrap up soon.
I know it went so quick,
It
guys.
did.
Like it really did.
Thank you,
I can
everybody,
chat
for
for
joining
London.
us. And thank you for the great questions as well. And thank you for donating and just spending the time with us, talking about Zoe's book, The In-Between. And could you, before we go, just read a little bit from the book?
All right, let's do some of the induction. So I'll read some of the induction. So here you go, guys. So this is the induction. There is a space that exists after something ends, but before something new begins. It is not the moment of crisis, and it is not yet the moment of clarity. It is the quiet, unfamiliar place that follows when the world thinks you are better, but inside you know that something has shifted forever. A space where the body is healing, the identity is changing, and the heart is still learning how to live again. This book was written from that space. In 2025, my life changed in more ways than I could ever imagine. My father passed away. We opened a children's home. We moved house, and I experienced breast cancer. My partner was experiencing prostate cancer for over a year also. Each of these events alone would have been enough to reshape a life. Together, they created a year that stripped everything back to what was essential. They slowed me down. They softened me. They taught me to listen even more to my body, to my grief, to my fear, to my values, and to what truly mattered beneath all the noise of everyday living.
Beautiful. And on that note, we say thank you, Zoe, aka the Sage.
Can I just say, guys, before we finish, guys, I just want to say we've donated. This was before we came on air, so we donated. Our people's donated. 637 and 38 pence, and Andrew, the hubby, has said he will match it. So I think we've got more since then. I haven't looked, and he said he will match it. So thank you so much to Andrew. Thank you, Lee, for doing this.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, the camera
pleasure.
crew, for doing this. Thank you so much for taking your time for doing this, and thank you to everyone that tuned in. I will be doing podcasts after this. I did say that. This was just the launch, and I will be doing podcasts and getting people on that's experienced loss or cancer or grief, trauma, anything basically, because I think it's nice to talk, and I think we need that. We're all going from a form of mental health at this present moment in time, all in different ways, and we must be okay with that word, mental health. It's our mental health that needs nourishing, needs love, and we all need it. And we all need to be in a community and help each other out. So watch this space for some more podcasts. And who knows, Lee, you might come on board and do some as well. So who knows where this is going to open up. But thank you, everyone. And it was a great evening.
And thank you, Zoe, right? And thank you, Andrew, for being a light, for sharing, this quite private and intimate, to be able to share what you guys have gone through. but I know you're doing it for the benefit of others so that they can learn from your journey, so that's really humbling, and we really appreciate you both, yeah? So thank you very much
Thank you.